Welcome everyone to Vinium Explained. Today we're going to discuss various use cases and strategies for Vinium, our new lending and borrowing platform. Use case 9. Delta neutral yield farming or low risk yield farming. If you find a place where you can stake a certain asset for a very attractive yield, but you don't want exposure to that asset, then you can instead borrow that asset and then stake it. So for example, you find a Genesis pool and they ask for wrapped ETH and they promise you a daily percentage yield of 10%. You might want to get into that, but you don't want exposure to ETH. So what you could do then is borrow the ETH, stake that ETH, get your yield, and then later, once the Genesis pool is over, repay your loan. The interest that you got in the Genesis pool is then your profit. A variant to delta neutral yield farming is pseudo delta neutral yield farming, and this is actually used for farming LPs. So say you find a very attractive yield on a certain LP, for example BTC and ETH. What you can do is borrow both of them, make the LP, put it up, farm the interest, and then once you're done, break up the LP and repay the loans. Now, because of the nature of impermanent loss, you will need to do some reshuffling of the assets because you end up with more of the one and less of the other. That's why it's called pseudo delta neutral yield farming, because you cannot be exactly sure that you end up with the same amount when you're repaying. While there is always a risk of liquidation, the risk of liquidation for delta neutral yield farming or pseudo delta neutral yield farming is actually very low because you're never selling the assets. So as soon as you're approaching the liquidation level, you can simply unstake and repay the loan because you still technically own it.